you think that all of the approaches are equally necessary, or do you think that there's one that really stands out above the others?
My music history professor in college would always say, if your only tool is a hammer, then all of your problems are going to look like nails. So I think in a certain respect, different approaches are necessary, and they do accomplish different things. I think that, I mean, depending on what the goal is, I really think that the most effective approach is really one of conversation. You know, I mean, I've had more good conversations than I have good debates. You know what I mean? And I really feel that if there's a way to show someone perspective, it's through conversation more so than debate. That said, I think that most of us realize that when we engage in sort of monologic debate that we do, that we're not trying to change minds. We're really just presenting ideas, and what's going to happen to those ideas happens apart from us, I guess, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, it makes all the sense. Like you said, depending on what the cause is, there's a different need for a different best approach, or a different best approach for each cause. And like there's a spectrum of approaches, there probably is a spectrum of causes. But I agree with you that the notion of discussion and promoting discussion, which is something that Sam Harris, for example, is a very big fan of, is the best way to actually spread atheism, if you like, if we establish that as the cause, just for the sake of argument. Because if you make fun of someone and they think atheists are assholes, even if they then become an atheist, their first experience was that atheists are assholes. If you just slag off religion relentlessly, then people may become atheists just out of spite of religion, because they see all of the bad stuff that it does. But then they're still getting, if you like, a one-sided picture. Now, I'm not going to get into any debates about what evils atheism can lead to, but I'm simply saying that it's not getting a particularly balanced picture from the people that they subscribe to. But if you promote discussion, then you get, this is going to be another controversial term, but it's one that I can't help but make, you get the best kinds of atheists out of it. You get the atheists who actually think their way to their position, because they start from, elementary questions, and then they just pursue critical thinking to what I think is its natural conclusion, and what a lot of other atheists who think it's its natural conclusion. I want to just continue with this question, because we're running up to the hour, and just sort of present this to the other two as well. Andy, what do you think would be the best approach? Would you agree with James and I, or would you have a different opinion there?
Oh, no, definitely I agree with you guys. Like James' approach and like theoretical bullshit, they kind of have, they go on camera, they talk to the camera, they engage people, and it almost kind of seems like they're engaging you too, and that gives a really good conversation type vibe. I think when people tend to, talk in terms of debate, it puts a lot of people off, it makes a lot of people defensive. But if you kind of have a conversational approach, I think it really goes well, and I think you can a lot easier come to common ground, which I think is the goal anyway.
Yeah, Triumph, what say you?
Well, there's a lot of different types. Just referring to the on-camera approach, that does work, but at the same time, I've seen so many people do it badly that it turns you off to people that do it well, like James. James does it well. But there's so many people that think that a valid video is just to kind of sit and talk for 10 minutes. I'm sure we've all encountered people like that. Yeah, I don't think there is any one approach, but it depends on the audience that you're trying to reach, because my thinking tends to be that I'm probably not going to convert people. The only way you can really do that is if you get a sustained dialogue going with them, either in real life or some analog, like over the phone or over Skype. I don't think anything else really works properly if they're sufficiently fundamentalist. So my thinking tends to be that it's like the equivalent of people watching a debate rather than people that I'm debating with. I'm making videos for people who are on the sidelines, who can watch and see what I'm talking about. And I personally think that, obviously I think that my approach is best suited to that, otherwise I'll be using a different approach. But all kind of approaches will work. It depends on the demographic you're going for. It depends on the argument. It even depends on what person you're responding to. Because I'm going to be more vehement against Craig than I am against, I don't know. I've said in the past that John Lennox is quite sort of inoffensive and cuddly, and I'd probably retract that a little bit. But I actually made an effort when I was refuting Lennox to be a bit more nice and a bit more soft. Whereas Craig, I'm quite happy to just call him all kinds of terrible things. I think he deserves it. There isn't really a hard and fast thing, unfortunately. And hard and fast is a funny phrase.
Well, thank you very much for ending on a funny phrase. But I was going to close up the show on the hour, but I'll tell you what, there's one more question which I did write down, and this is the question that I wanted to end with, because when setting up this show, I contacted all of the people that you've heard on the show tonight, of the people that I contacted. Of course, they were the people I wanted on the show. There was one other, and that was Completely Lovely. And Completely Lovely is a Canadian atheist. She is completely lovely, and her videos are really about the positive aspects of being free of religious dogma. And I really recommend that you go and check out her channel. She didn't get back in time to appear on the show, so if you go to her wall, please post something along the lines of, "We missed you on the show, we hope you'll make the next one." Please don't flame her or anything. She obviously didn't sign into her YouTube this week. So the reason I wanted to get onto this is because obviously the panel that we had tonight is predominantly male. I say predominantly male because we've got Andy, James, and I, and this was a triumph who's a little bit effeminate, probably 70% man, 30% something else.
I'm wearing makeup. I literally am. I just wanted to say that. Okay. And the reasons why you can speculate, but I'm in makeup and I have long hair. Continue.
Thank you very much. The question that I'm going to present to the panel is a simple question, which I'm sure you'll want to discuss for ages, but if I could ask you to be reasonably brief. Firstly, with Andy, where are all the female atheists?
Well, my girlfriend is a female atheist, and she hates talking about religion, hates talking about atheism. So I don't really know where they all are. Maybe they just don't like the debate. I don't know. I really can't answer you. I wish I knew better.
Okay, James, same question.
Well, my girlfriend is agnostic. She's just not really, for her, she's just not interested in the conversation. She doesn't get it. She doesn't understand this whole religion thing, and that's really kind of it. I can only assume that there are other women that also applies to.
And Triumph, lastly, being the most effeminate member, perhaps you could shed some light on this.
So can you just repeat the question?
I was just saying, you look like a woman, so maybe you could tell us. Maybe you could tell us why. Do you have any reservations about going on YouTube at certain times and think, oh, that's my womanly side coming through?
Well, speaking as a man with a vagina, I really don't know what the fuss is about. I think quite possibly you'd have to say that there are less women or less women overtly on YouTube being atheists, because a lot of the men doing it, in fact most of the men at some point, can find an excuse, rightly or wrongly, often rightly, to be quite aggressive and sort of typical manly about it. It's about one-upmanship. Even if you're entirely right, it's still about one-upmanship. It's trying to ridicule other people, partially for edification, partially for amusement. And that, I think, is going to be primarily a kind of male thing to do, because women aren't that, well, women aren't.
Be careful what you say.
Okay, this is not across the board. This is not a generalization, but in my experience, women are less vicious about this kind of thing. Men are happy to be because of the kind of atheism YouTube atheism is, which is refuting idiots. A lot of people can quite easily be extremely cutting and incisive with it, and that I think is why it appeals to men. Either that, or it's just a generalization that all women are silly, just like horses and ponies and kittens, never think about anything beyond their own reflection.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to cut in there so we can actually end on that point, and I can post the recording on